Yeah, Tottenham blew it. There's no other way of putting it. And that mistake by Hugo Lloris really costing them there, him being sent off especially. And the problem being, Brian, is that something similar happened in the Barcelona game where he completely misjudged leaving his penalty area to try and get the ball.
Well, he's always been the goalkeeper that's swept up behind a back four that like to play a high line. Here we're actually
seeing, this is Christian Eriksen, Brian,
Christian Eriksen in the match.
Well, Eriksen was brilliant, though, wasn't he? I think overall, in the second half, he only actually came into it in that moment in creating the goal in the first half. And as the game wore on, he had such an influence. The first 10 or 15 minutes of the second half, he was absolutely outstanding. And this is the position he was taking. He was starting to get himself in a little bit of space. He was starting to get it ticking over for Spurs. And what he was doing when he's finding himself in these positions, it was his quality on the ball. And you see he gets his head up here. He knows exactly where Harry Kane is. Immediately looks up and he just puts it into a great area. It's a great goal, but Eriksen has such an influence for about a 15 or 20-minute spell, which actually should have won the game for Spurs this evening. Yeah,
and seeing those two combining really well was very encouraging for Spurs at that point. But let's go back to the Hugo problem. The game against Barcelona made a misjudgment, and it happened again tonight.
Yeah, he's always been the goalkeeper that has been complimented for his speed off the line as an anticipation of seeing things. But here, his lack of judgment. Look at where he's caught out. I mean, he's in no man's land. His ball is drilled into the net. It was a great ball. It was very clever play. But, you know, his judgment, I mean, he's just come back from that period out with injury and after the suspension and so on. Tonight, again, it's a clear misjudgment here. I don't think either of the centre-backs are going to stop Lozano from scoring.
Pochettino, in his interview, said it shouldn't have been a red, that none of the defenders would have got there.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think they'd have got there. I think he was ahead of both of them. And remember how he did in the first half, where he cut across Alderweireld to score the goal. I think if he'd have felt the threat of a tackle, he'd have gone down and got a penalty. But you know, for me, it was a red card. The referee got the decision right. It was a mistake by the goalkeeper, but they still had the opportunity to retrieve it. That was the 79th minute. It ends up, it's 2-2 because of a later thing that happened in the match. And Spurs still had chances to pull it out of the bag.
Spurs still had chances, and Harry Kane had plenty of chances. He got on the score sheet. He got 6 shots on goal, which is back to his sort of shot per game record of last season. Is he getting back to his best, Brian?
It was more a case, was Harry Kane nearly back to his best tonight? And I thought he was. Look at this sharp turn, get the shot away, little deflection off the centre-back, takes it over the bar. Here, holds his 2 men off and gets the header, hits the crossbar. Here, running out, we saw him doing this in the Champions League last year, several occasions in Wembley, drifting down the left-hand side, sets her up. Here he is in the middle of the penalty area, gets a header on goal. Disappointed himself, I'd say, that he didn't score. Here again, good play, good movement with his feet, picks out Lamela here, does a fancy dance, hits her off the bar. Here, he should have received the ball earlier. Look, his arm's out, he wants her into that space, but Son doesn't play it quick enough for him. Son runs on with it, and the space gets closed out. He tries a little step over, doesn't quite work out. Here's the one we showed earlier, where Eriksen puts it right on his noggin, and he heads it down the match. But this was the critical one in the game. This was the 89th minute. And his touch lets him down. He could have hit it first time because he could see the ball coming all the way, or his touch had to take him away from the defender rather. And that would have been the winning of the game with 10 men that would have rescued. So, sadly, it didn't turn out well for Spurs.
It was a win they really had to get. They're in a bother now. To use an unfortunate phrase, it's a bit Spursy tonight, wasn't it?
I thought exactly what it was. Almost typical Spurs. That's what I think, really. Certainly in these big games, they should be on 6 points. They blew it against Inter Milan, and they've blown it this evening when they dominated the game. I said before, such a long spells of dominating possession, dominating it in relation to chances as well. And yeah, it was one of those nights again for Spurs.